Welcome to the 6th installment of our workflow application React.js tutorial. Here is an example of what we'll be putting together. It's got dates for due date. I got priority lists. We got, is it a bug or a new feature? And are we assigning it to anybody? These are all features that we're adding to our tickets when building. So let's do a lesson outline to let you know what our plan is. We need to do a ticket priority. We want to report either a bug or it's a new feature, and then we want to assign the tickets to somebody, and then we want to have like a due date so that we're aware of when everything's due. Let's update the MySQL tickets table. We need priority, like I just said, and we can start out with low as being the default, and let's just go with the standard. I'll just do a little list of what we're going to be expecting here. Low, medium, high, and critical are the options for the priority. Pretty standard for most ticketing systems. We're also going to be reporting if it's either a bug or we need a new feature. So these are the standards for each ticket. I'm going by whether a bug or new feature based on my old job I used to have at CVS. In the IT department. And we're also going to do who is this assigned to and when is this due. The assigned to, we're just going to do a text input field for now, but we'll be updating it to have all the users listed. So let's start off with the priority. We're going to put it into the client side. We're going to start off with a select menu, and let's put in the class of form control so it spreads all the way across. We're going to name it priority. So we know what the select menu is representing. The default will be the first value, which will just tell people that this is where they select the priority level. And then we're going to do our basic menu of low, medium, high, or critical. And it doesn't need to be dynamic. This is a really simple menu that we're going to have static written in here. So let's just go ahead and write it the UI. And we'll take a look and see. We're going to need to add a whole bunch of priority as going out too. So we already have objects heading out when we do an edit. So we're going to need to validate that the priority does not say default. That's making sure that it's being validated correctly. So within our ticket object, let's put priority and whatever the value is once it's been validated. So that's going to be the priority, and we'll send that off with the edit. And we're also going to want to make the priority menu go back to the default, so equals 0 to the selected index of that element. All right, so we're also going to do the same thing to priority is going to be added to add ticket object. So the ticket object priority is also going to be the value, and then we'll reset it once it's been successfully done. And then when we grab tickets, we're also going to need to get that priority so that we can fill the field that was selected. So we're going to need to get, we're going to need to put, and we're going to need to post priority within our existing object. So let's go to the other server side, and we're going to tell the server side what to expect now that we've added priority to the objects. So priority will be now expected within this object on the server side. Rec body priority means that we sent it as an object. It was not a parameter. And here we are updating it. So in case priority comes up, we'll basically tell it whatever it is in the new. All right, so let's go back to see how it works. And as you can see, I can set my priorities just fine here. Let's see if I'm editing it and the network sends it correctly. And it looks like it is working. priority was sent, and then there was a success. So as you can see here in the database, there we go. Something has been working fine. Okay, so the bug or new feature option, just like the last one, we are going to write the UI, and it's going to be another select menu, and the first value is going to be default, so we can let them know that this is where they select if it's a bug or a new feature. This is going to be a very small static select menu. The values will be, like I said, bug or new feature. And this will be a required field that will be validating. And there's our name that we'll be calling it by. So as you can see in our reset function, these are things that get reset when need be. Things like priority are going to need to be reset. So just like the ticket info and ticket title, let's reset the priority select menu to 0 to the default. And then we'll also, and within the reset function, we'll do the same to bug new feature, is reset them once they've been successfully done and someone hits the reset. You're going to see us do some altering to that reset function here in a little while. But we are going to get the value for edit. When we send this off bug new feature, we're going to have the value. We're also going to reset it back to 0 once it's been successful. And we'll also add it to the ticket object when it's being added. So it will also be just like we did with the other one with priority. We're adding it to the object here. And we'll be selecting it to go back to default once we're done with a successful add. Now we'll also be validating bug new feature, and let's add that in there. Priority is going to be validated too. So if I don't do it in this, we'll have to go back to add ticket and validate priority as well. So, but let's go ahead and do what we do for get as well. When we select a ticket, we will put the bug feature to whatever it was assigned to in the database. So the get, the put, and the post all get updates. And now we're adding it to the backend. New feature will be accepted and replaced with whatever we've decided with the update. And with add, bug new features now a part of that object. And start selecting. As you can see, we can now select if it's a bug or a new feature. So let's do some updating with some of the existing tickets we already have. And we'll go down the line and get all these. There we go. So we know that validation is working. And let's verify that the data got through. Yeah, looks like it's getting closer. There we go. The classic. We want something shiny. So it looks like everything is working out. So that is done. That is done. Let's go to assign tickets to users. So when we get a ticket, we'll assign it. What I will probably do is have a default of whoever's fielding the tickets. It will initially be default assigned to them, and then they will assign it to whoever the users are within this application. But since we only have me currently, I'm going to have a text input field for assigned to value. And let's go ahead and we're going to need to be reset that once the reset function is. So we'll put it back to its default of an empty field once reset function is done. And like I said, you'll see this here in a second. I'm going to do a lot of work to this function. But as we did the other ones, we're also going to need to update the objects for put, the object for post, And of course, get is going to be something where we fill the field once it's been selected. So just like the last two, we're going to need to validate them. We're going to need to put them into the objects that are being sent over. We also need to reset the field. So the exact same steps we just took for the last two items, we're adding here now for the assigned to field. And I think, I'll just be copying up that element and then adding it to all the resets. And here I'm adding it to the ticket object so we can post it. There's that value. Here's the validation for add ticket in there. And of course the grab ticket, when we grab it, we'd like to fill in the field that the data we got was correct. So let's go to the server side and walk through the steps again. Just like the other ones, we're going to need to, when we do an update, we will be doing the same thing as we did with the last two elements. And when we do an add, this object needs to have the assigned to key and value. And then we're going to need to put it into the reset function. What I actually do here is I'm going to do a little bit of squirreling around with the reset function, realize that I have so many select index boxes that I'm just going to go through a for each on reset function and just have it go through every select menu and reset it. So let's just test out some of our work here. So it looks like we sent this off. Here's the object we sent. It says assigned to joe@test.com. So that is working. We now have an assigned to option, and it is saving it in the database, so it's working. Our API is up and running. Let's sign that off. And like I said it half done because I'm going to do some more to that. Let's write the universal date count, the date module. So it's a date selector. It's basically 3 select menu drop-downs, one for the year, one for the month, one for the day. Now, as you know, that a lot of these menus, whether it's a month or the day, it needs to have a 0 before. So like let's say it's 09 and then it would be 10, or 01, 02, 03, all the way to 10. So we kind of spruce up the selection menu to have that 0 so that it'll fit our date format. So what I'm going to do, since I'm going to use these date pickers, I use them all the time, and I don't want to write them all the time. I just need one. So I'm going to write a kind of a menu that we can use for date picking, and we can use it everywhere. We just write one of it, and we make it unique by passing through a menu. So it says props menu. And this way, if the same drop-down menu is on multiple times on one page, it will be uniquely identifiable to get the value. Because obviously, we would only be able to get one of its values if they all shared it. So we have to make sure the names are unique. And that's how we do it, is we pass down a unique name from its parent. And as you can see, default is the first option. And we'll have to validate it so that we know. And the years are kind of like, how long do you think the life cycle of the software is going to be? And I would probably give life cycles about 10 years. And in about 10 years, you probably want to write something new. So what I basically do here is I write an array. I just get kind of sick of it, and I'll just write an array with all the years I would like to include. I'm not getting fancy here. But I do need to go ahead and fill these things out on the fly as they load. So I'm going to make it as easy as possible to get the year listed. As you can see here, I'm going to go and just write them up, basically. Yeah, and it doesn't even need to be use state. We can just call it years because it's just a static array. And let's get this through let's just get this over with, because we can move on from here and start learning again, because everybody knows what years and how to make an array. So I'm going to need to do a use effect to actually fill out the numbers. We're going to need the numbers for the days to go all the way up to 31. So when this thing loads, I just need to do it a one-time concept of counting, and then we apply those counters to the select menus. And you'll thank me. You don't want to write this more than once. And let's also be adamant about, in the future, we know that some of the months don't have 31 days. So I'll be coming back here later on and adding something more to make this a little smarter, so it'll know, oh, I'm on this month, well, that month only has 28 days, or this month only has 30. I think I'm going to come back through and write something that will make this drop down for the days a little smarter on this module. Because right now it'll currently say every month has 31 days. And that's going to be a problem when you come across a month that doesn't, because we're going to be building a graph that has a timeline, and if it has a null value, and if there is not a 31 days in a month, it'll break the timeline, and we don't want that. So these generic kind of lists of numbers are great, but it needs to be a little smarter. So another thing here, as you can see, I'm writing a function called generic update. I don't know what the future entails for this select menu, but I do know that a function on change will be helpful, but I don't know exactly what that function will be doing yet, and it may be different depending on the parent module or the parent. So I'm just going to write something generic update for now. And if I don't use it, I don't use it. And if I do use it, then good, because I will need it. But I'm going to push through all these kind of me toying around with the mapping through the numbers, because it's kind of it's not really that important. We know what we need to do, and I'm going to speed up the editing speed here in a second, and that'll power us through this really kind of monotonous part of me getting the days to work. As you can see, I'm just telling it to, where it needs to stop. I kind of go through a couple different ideas of what I'd like to do. Here you can see I'm starting to speed up the editing, because I don't really think this is a proper place to learn that much. We're just repeating something and finding out something about what the month and the day are going to look like. And we're mapping through numbers. So nothing really to see here. I want to map through my array of months. Yeah, I don't know. I tend to looks like I think that this is the days again still, so I'm just gonna watch me toy around with this here for a few seconds, and then we'll get it right. And as you can see, I need to put that 0 in front if it's below 10. So it says 01, 02, 03. So it's me just kind of screwing around. Let's integrate this module with the UI that I just built. So we're going to place everything in a React fragment so that this date selector looks nice. I'm going to do a little bit of UI mixing and matching until it looks pretty. We're using Bootstrap 4 here. So as you can see, it's a little bit kind of, I need to go ahead and negotiate the UI to make sure that they spread out and across the page and look real pretty. So what I need to do is kind of follow up on some of the Bootstrap frameworks and the classes. So let's go ahead and put inform control in each one of them, so it goes all the way across. So the Bootstrap here, now we're starting to get it nice and pretty. I've realized I don't need that anymore. But I still need the 32 over here for the day. So let's walk these through. And we got to kind of add these together, but the adding is going to be kind of a pain in the butt. So what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to start fresh with a new idea here. I'm going to say that if it's below 10, I need to put the 0 together and add 1 and add the I. And then if it's not, if it's 10 or above, then the I, the number, the iterator will be fine. The problem is that it doesn't realize, it just pushes the two numbers together, not without adding. So here in a second, that's working for the month. See all the way up to there, and then looks like we're missing a month, September. Okay, that'll help. And clearly we've got to get it all. We have to basically tinker with it until it works. So, not a big deal. These are just kind of monotonous things. And obviously we can't start on day 00 because there will not be a day 00. Yeah, and there's no month 00 either. And the day's not running just yet. So let's finish this out. I would say do parse just to make sure that it's a number. Here we go. I'm going to haul ass through this because it's getting monotonous. As you can see, I'm just getting these numbers to work. And if you really care about how I concatenated and added everything together with parse int, go ahead and look at the GitHub. But I dicked around with the numbers for these the day for about 30 minutes, so I don't want to bore you. So you go look at the code and you can see what I came up with. And as our default, I'd like to put in a little bit about what was being sent down through props. So I'll be writing the menu in there. In 2 seconds, I'll have to write the word props in there. There we go. So we will be passing down what the parent has brought us, which was called do. So let's take a look. Inspect, it says do select year, so that is unique. Do select month, and they're numbered correctly. And you see how it's 01, 02, 03, we're good. So let's fix up that reset function, because I don't like the way it is. It's got all this crap in here. And not only that, reset function is called like up here at the top. So I'm going to rearrange reset function. And then I'm also going to do, since we have all these select indexes going back to 0 on reset, let's just run a for each on all the select menus and get them all reset to 0 to the beginning at default. And let's just not write so many, elements, value equals, and then have 2 apostrophes. Looks like everything's working. Got dates, we can edit tickets, we can find out all about these information here. And now, as you can see, I've decided we need to do a for each and get all of these select menu elements back to the default of 0 of their first option. And not only am I going to have it done, but I'm going to move it out of this if statement because it's everywhere. I'll be putting it up here on the reset one. Reset function is called is at the top. As you can see, it works great. But I feel like we could use this reset everywhere because we keep clearing out all the same elements over and over on successive get, post, and update. So concatenate means I'm going to add things together. Our due date is 3 select item menus values concatenated. So I'm concatenating the year select menu value. I'm concatenating the year with the month. There's going to be a dash in between them, just like our other timestamp. And then here's goes for the day. So due date is basically the value of these 3 menus with dashes in between them. That's going to be something we're going to pass over when we edit. As you can see, it's just like we need to update the object during our update. This object needs to have the due date, and we're going to need to validate the do select year, do select month, and do select day. So that is a thing for all of us to do. And let's go back to the reset function. Like I said, we're not going to need this. Let's just call the reset, because it's all doing the same thing. We don't need to have all these elements resetting if we have a function that does it. Now let's put the due date into the API. Now you saw how I concatenated it for an update and put it in the object. We're going to need to do the same thing for add. So due date is now going to be added to the object that gets the post, and we're going to validate it, all of them, just like we did for the edit. And I'll come through, and it looks like one of my validations is missing for one of our other values. It looks like the priority value. So I'll come through and fix that later. But due date needs to be something that we're going to go ahead and assign the values to when we do the get as well. Now this is tricky, because the first substring of 0 to 4 would be the year. So we apply due date substring 0 to 4 as the year value, and then the month is going to be another substring, and the day will be the other substring. So we're dicing up that timestamp that has the dashes in it we just created, so that when we do a get and we apply a ticket, it has the correct due date in each one of these select menus. It's a little tricky, but as you can see here, I'm dicing up that value with substrings so that I can apply them to the year, month, and day. And right now it's a little bit of touch and go. Let me fill out the rest of this information on the ticket, and we'll see what happens. So I've set this up for the 20th of September. Let's go to the other server side and let it know, hey, you're going to be expecting a due date here. And on the server side, there's no concatenation. It's already been added together. So we just, that value that we sent over, we're just going to swing in and add it to the object. And we'll also be adding it to, if we want to update it here, with rec body due date. And we also need to have an equal sign for our syntax. All right, let's try it out. It looks like that due date is working. The get's not working though, so our substrings are broken. Let's fix them. They're putting out the wrong data. Our substring is a little off by 1 on each one, so 8. And we'll switch it from, I want to say it would be 5, 7. Okay, so let's try this. And yeah, so it works. So now we can do a date. Let's move this reset function. Since we keep calling it, I want to have it up at top, because it's underneath, they call it all the time. So I just feel like it should be up top, just for organization standards. And we'll try all these out and put some due dates, and this will help out in the future. We'll have a color-coded thing that tells how close you are to the due date, and once you pass it, it'll become a higher level of priority, and there will be some color coding telling you that you've passed your due date. And we will see you next time for the next lesson. Thanks.